Yeah, what up, what up, what up? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Yeah, okay, I'm on. Just checking in. I think that's pretty decent. That's pretty good. I think that's good. I think we can deal with that. Yo, thank y'all for tuning in to No Flag Radio. I'm your host, P. Getting at the game. See who in the chat. Nobody in the chat yet, so I'll shout them out later. Today we talking about why white people whose families came to America in 1940, 1970, 1990, 2012, whatever, why they should contribute to reparations. And again, I also want to touch on why we can't let non-ADOS blacks fight us back on separating our ADOS tangibles efforts from their leeching off our existence like they watched everybody else do, including their immigrant parents over here. So I'm talking about why white people whose families came to America in, like 1940, 1920s, whatever, 1970, 1990, whatever, why they should contribute to reparations. Well, in the late 19th century, that's when white immigrants started being identified as white people because they got down with the whims of white supremacist terrorist society here, right? They assimilated into racial nationalism, if you will, and they played both sides, and they still play both sides of the fence, this sort of Euro-Christian identity on one side, and then their home country identity, even if it ain't Christian, they're going to play both sides, right? So this is exactly what they did then. This is exactly what they do today. These groups started coming here in mass, first in the 1830s, and by the late 1800s, no less than 70 years later, like even before the 1800s let out, they were already on code with white supremacist tactics and undermining black society. Okay, so I want y'all to remember that. They came here in the 1830s in mass. So this is before the 1900s, and it was already on white supremacist time. They didn't want to fight for black people, but against black people, sort of like a vetted diaspora Coon would do. And we'll touch on them in a little bit. But by the 1920s, these people were governors and judges and congressmen, all that shit. And they were doing the dirty work of white supremacist society. They were already lapdogs of white supremacist evil in less than 100 years' time. Okay, don't forget that shit. Now, these groups were largely Catholic groups, like not Protestant groups like Baptist or Christian or Methodist, any of that shit. So that was a major dividing line of the time before they showed that they would get down with white supremacist religion, white supremacy being the real religion, you understand? So don't let white supremacist society try to run that on you today, especially with the white immigrants. White supremacy is their religion too. All right, they partake in it like motherfucking hotcakes by virtue of the institutionalized benefits of having white skin. So I got my, I want to pull out something for y'all. Yeah, let me do this real quick. Since we talking and chatting. Oh, there go people right there. Oh, I'm buffering. You'll see me in a bit. Am I still buffering? How's it looking now? How's it going now? Section 31X. It always kind of starts off buffering sometimes in this conference room that I do my work from. How we looking? Section 31X. Throw my gloves on you boys. How it sound, 31X? Say something to me, 31X. How's it going? Or it might just be your internet, man. I'll see. And if it fuck up, then I'll just, okay, somebody say it's okay. VIP 0327, okay. All right. It's all what it is. If it's, yeah, you can hear me fine. Okay. So, what can I say? Had to put on my do work gloves for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I saw these in the Young Buck video. He got these on his video, man. Not that I'm, Young Buck, you know what I'm saying? But he had these exact same gloves on. I wonder if he got them from where I got them from. But anyway, one thing that I'm not ashamed to tell these white immigrants, these descendants of non-Anglo white immigrants, because we know Anglo whites are also immigrants here. They were trespassing on native black groups like the descendants of the Olmecs who were in North America as well, right? And a bunch of pre-Columbian black groups, all right? But I'm not ashamed to tell these descendants of non-Anglo white immigrants that your biggest white immigrant hurdle to acceptance in this culture was y'all own people. It was white Anglos, the people that y'all now today try to cloud y'all's identity behind when it's convenient. You understand? We see this. These were white people shitting on white immigrants, y'all. And they shat on their ancestors. They shat on their motherfucking ancestors until their ancestors eventually bent the fuck over and opened their asshole and said, I'm gonna be down with white supremacy and I'm gonna bow down to white supremacist society. They had these white nationalist groups back in the 1840s. There was one called the Nativist American Party, a few other outfits back then asking these motherfuckers to bow down. You white immigrant motherfuckers, bow down. And before the 1800s ended, what was they doing? They had their butt cheeks spread for white supremacy. On the contrary, ADOS, us, we had all kinds of organizations shitting on us. We had a bunch of people shitting on our autonomy. We had the motherfucking European slave masters. We had the Nigerian slave traders. We had Ghanaian slave traders. We had, you can fast forward the clock, we had the motherfucking KKK. We had the government at us. You understand? We had COINTELPRO. If you fast forward the clock a little further, motherfuckers going against people like MLK. You know what I'm saying? Against black people who wanted to see good for us and for white immigrants. People like y'all, you immigrants that I'm talking to, you white immigrants. And we still ain't bowing down to them. You understand? We still got we got a handful of coons and shit. A couple bad wenches, some, motherfuckers that get paraded on TV that we see all the time, the shea butter feminist type, the bed bugs. But those people are a rarity amongst ADOS society. We call them motherfuckers out. We make them pariahs amongst our society. You see what we do today, as it. So after all of that infighting, basically between Catholics and Protestants in the white immigrant community, after all that shit died out, white people who came to America after slavery and after that shit ended, they could simply use their whiteness as their get around card, as their American Express. That was the connector that basically got them their come ups in this society. It got them political equity. It got them social equity. It got them economic equity, right? You know what I'm saying? Whiteness was the identifier that they needed to osmose their way into white supremacist society's grab bag of goodies that came from whiteness. You understand? It came from virtue of whiteness, right? We know white immigrant group after white immigrant group, the Italians, the Poles, Greeks, Slavs, these people weren't even considered white until as late as the early 1800s and early 1900s. Around that time, they weren't even considered white by your typical English Dutchman motherfuckers, right? Who are already here profiting from slavery, understand, and profiting from white specific equities, whiteness specific equities, right? I'm gonna keep saying that, whiteness specific equities. But it was for the sake of keeping black people out of vertical mobility, is my point, in a society that they gained this deeper acceptance into white society. Don't forget that. Once they proved their loyalty to that, then they became governors and judges and so forth. Let me do this real quick. Let me check my chitting at people say I go on forever and I don't holler at nobody. I'm hollering at y'all. What's up? What's up? Okay, everybody can hear me. Okay. I'm checking in. You know what I mean? But like I said, once they proved their loyalty to keeping black people out of mobility and out of certain things, then they gained governorship, judgeships by aligning with the dominant society that's already in place here. White supremacy and non-motherfucking justice. You understand? And when white immigrant groups come here that trying to experience this American dream, that's what their families are thirsty for when they make it out to this bitch. They're thirsty to gain from the benefits that ADOS threaded into whiteness and gain from the benefits that ADOS threaded into white grab bags that they stole from our labor. You feel me? This is documented as shit like the New Deal, okay? So y'all might remember that. New Deal is a combination of acts and policies and practices that was aimed at stimulating America out of the Great Depression and shit. All the stealing that white people did from black people during slavery, that shit wasn't enough because their poor white country management skills, the same poor white country management skills that they brought over from England hundreds of years before, it still couldn't put together how to keep a fucking economy going. Even after having all this dough that they stacked up, right? They still couldn't keep an economy going, especially after they couldn't wholesale profit off of black labor and profit off of our plantation labor directly. Of course, they immediately ran the shit like, institutionalized ways to profit off of black existence, ADOS existence. That's why they came with shit like convict leasing and peonage laws where they could just run up to a motherfucker on the street and say, hey, look, I got a gun. Hey, you black person, come work for me. It was like that type of shit, right? But we won't get into that today. But the same poor white management skills that had white people running from their home countries and had them running from England in the 1600s and still keep them running to the U.S. today, those same poor white country management skills had this country broke as fuck. All right. And in the New Deal, there was the Federal Housing Act, the FHA. And what it did was it promoted basically white covenants in housing with language by the banks and all of these banks that were underwriting all these loans to say not to loan to areas that are infiltrated. This is the verbiage they use, areas that were infiltrated by inharmonious racial or nationality groups, right? This is race-based lockout that white immigrants are going to probably deny and lie about benefiting from, but we up in their ass is my point. We're not going to allow them to do that. FDR, he was trying to appease Southern Democrats at the time with this type of shit, and nearly all white immigrants were Democrats at this time. That shit didn't change until the 1960s with white immigrants. Yeah, that's just the fact. When World War II popped off, they gave out shit like housing for people who were working in like war-related industries. They gave them houses. Or you want to work in making the tips of these motherfucking missiles? Cool, we'll give you housing. They did shit like that. This is all a part of the New Deal. And that housing for these war-related industries, it was given out by a race. White people benefited from this. This was not Irish Catholicism that put them in that. It wasn't Polish Catholicism that put them in these positions. It was, we're talking about set-asides that set white families up for life. You understand? This type of shit set people up for life. And for generations after generations, by virtue of whiteness, is my point. There was also the Wagner Act, and I'll bring up the Wagner Act all the time. It basically was a part of the New Deal that allowed companies to unionize and kind of discriminate with unions, basically to exclusively represent whatever employees that they wanted to represent or whatever. And it had a policy. It had the effect of excluding black people because the top unions were already discriminating and in the flow of discriminating against black people anyway. All right. But white supremacist society, they didn't want to defend black workers. They wanted to defend the immigrant workers and the whites that were already here. You know what I'm saying? So when white immigrants talk that shit of why do my people owe type shit, we came here in 1980 type shit, point to them and their lineage being complicit in white supremacist institutional lockout of black people. If that makes sense to you, point to them now being accepted in motherfuckers like the fucking KKK, right? And all these terrorist white supremacist groups, right? All these different motherfuckers who used to say, oh, you're not English or you're not Anglo-Saxon, you can't join. So now in 2019, all the you white, you can come on in, right? Even the KKK, they were founded on being anti-immigrant, even white immigrant, right? So just saying. So there it is. When white immigrants ask you, why do my people owe? You say the Wagner Act. You say unequal protection in employment and in hiring practices just because we were American ADOS. You understand? Is the point I want to get to. In a white supremacist society, while all you motherfucking white immigrants got the set-asides. And that's the point. They got soft handling in their entry into this community of America. It's a national community. They got soft padded into this motherfucking shit, right? All that shit sound like a motherfucker owe something out of that. And that's my point. These immigrants, they weren't fighting against these things. They weren't fighting against any of this shit. They weren't fighting against numerous other policies and practices that hobbled black society. They were participatory and complicit. So yes, your people do owe. You see what I'm saying? My thing is that, you know, what white group has the nerve to really think that they're exempt from contributing to this tangible shit, from ADOS tangibles? I rack my brain about that shit all day. Like, why do you motherfuckers think that you didn't have a hand in this shit? What makes you think that you didn't do dirt? There's a book that I'm finna get, well, a publication that I'm gonna get pretty soon. It's called Working Toward Whiteness. And it's written by a guy named David Rodinger. It's about how new immigrants became white, how white immigrants became white in America. And plenty of white scholars have written about this shit, about how the transition from white immigrant to being white meant you had to become a part of the ebb and flow of violating black society in order to be considered a part of the fraternity of white supremacy. That was the motherfucking broom you had to jump over. Right? Don't forget, when you look at the slave catchers, these motherfuckers, they used to be Anglo white people, right? That's what white society would call nativist white people, or what some of the white supremacists would call nativist white people, right? These motherfuckers had guns and whips and all this kind of shit. And they would pull it out if you was a slave trying to get away. You understand? And our ancestors, our ADOS ancestors, called these people patty rollers. You understand? They called them patty rollers. And they would brutalize black people in enforcement of white supremacy's fugitive slave laws, etc. All that shit, right? These same motherfuckers became the Irish patties in the 1930s, where you had so many police officers that were Irish. That's why they started calling them patties, because goddamn, so many police were Irish at this point. They look brutal, overboard brutes when it came to black society, in order to pay homage to their legacy of black abuse that they no doubt saw in this country. And they participated and violated motherfuckers on the street across the board. This was all an act to gain clout, in my ideation. They wanted to get clout amongst white supremacist society. That was their goal back then. So that's just it. One thing that you hear Irish try to bring up, they'll try to say shit like, we'll just talk about different groups of white people. Damn. One thing you hear Irish try to bring up, they'll say shit like, oh, you remember, well, we were the Fighting Irish. There was the Fighting Irish. They came and they fought on the side of the Confederacy during the Civil War. The Fighting Irish is like some infantry back in, where were they? From New York or some shit, 69th Infantry, some shit like that. Talking all this shit, talking about they fought against the Confederacy in the Civil War, and they were a part of this brigade fighting for the Union or whatever. But that don't matter when by the end of the fucking 1800s, they was out busting black people heads on the street on some Irish patty shit, right? Fucking Germans. The Germans, they fought against the Confederacy. There's a battle that they talk about here in Texas called the Nueces Battle, where Germans were fighting on the side of the Union soldiers. And Germans might try to throw that shit in your face, you know? But right after the war, no sooner than the war ended, maybe like a few years after the war, the motherfuckers, Germans were the ones that were turning up voting for Horace Greeley for U.S. president. Horace Greeley was a super duper racist piece of shit cracker. As a group, Germans were on code with white supremacy. You understand? So, and shit, since we even talking Irish, you know, Ireland, even today, they have one of the highest rates of crime and hate crime type shit against black people. Anybody in my chat from Ireland, you might could vouch for me on this shit. Like, this is what the fuck they on. And you don't think that directly transfers across the water when a motherfucking group of people come over here? You got your motherfucking mind. Look at the Indians. They the same shit. They got a very anti-black culture over there. They transport that shit over here to the U.S. So what made you think the Irish white immigrants are special? It's kind of what I'm trying to get at. See, we noticed that white immigrants, they try to play this mind fuck. Like, oh, they didn't see black abuses and marginalizations being carried out generation after generation and all this shit. And that their families were just sitting and watching it innocently from the sidelines. No, that's a crock of white bullshit. All right, don't let them lie to you. Pull their Irish card, right? I'm gonna be pulling the documentation that their white ass writers be pulling about them, right? Pull their fucking German card. I've told y'all before, Germans are the largest group of white people in the United States, and it's often glossed over that they played a role in our transatlantic slave trade. You don't hear a lot about this. You hear me? You hear what I'm saying? Germans will try to outright lie. They got a lot of propaganda where people will try to just lie and try to fantasize Germany's involvement with the slave trade and try to downplay it. But, you know, we're not having that. A lot of people will run with the shit saying, oh, Germans never profitably participated in the economies of slavery. They'll try to run that shit that, oh, well, you know, Germany wasn't officially a country until 1871, shit like that. But what Germany had up to that point, if you know German history, they had families that participated in regional and global trade propped up by the slave trade. All right, so we're talking, they making manufacturing centers out of whole cloth due to the slave trade. Just one or two or three, four families type shit. It was more than that, but I'm just saying, like, that shows you the type of pull that slavery had when you could just build entire countries with the backs of a few people engaging in the trade and what comes with it. Two families out of Augsburg, Germany, that just kept coming up in my research. If you're from Germany and you're listening, you might heard of the Welser family and the Fugger family. Fugger or Fugger or Fugger. It looked like Fugger, but but they were influential financiers. I mean, influential financier type people back during like the Holy Roman Empire. And the Holy Roman Empire lasted from 800 to 1806. But even after the Civil War, the Pope was talking that slavery is so essential, so needed, right? But anyway, but them and their businesses were deeply involved in the Spanish conquest of the New World. These people, this exact group, like the Fuggers and the Welsers, they were idolized by the Nazis, right? They were looked at as colonizing figures during the Nazi regime. Them and several other German families, several other families jumped off manufacturing trades because of the transatlantic slave trade, as well as trading companies. They were so successful, like I said, that large geographical areas profited economically and developed all kind of healthy domestic manufacturing and shit like that. And now what is now called Germany, right? So we're talking about strongholds that allowed for countries like Germany to be built. It just shows you how profitable ADOS enslavement was. Entire countries could be developed off one group of investors out of whole cloth. Westphalia, Swabia, Saxony, another one I'm trying to remember the name is Silesia. It boosted these areas into economic vitality. And there's plenty of writings that speak about German entrepreneurs, missionaries, politicians, and all these aid organizers that participated heavily in specifically the U.S. slave trade. So that's that business. And what do the Germans do when they get their motherfucking asses over here? In order to integrate here, they assimilate into the racial segregation here and the polarization that came from white supremacy being the running infrastructure here, right? You see, they want to act like because their family didn't get a check over there in their country where they at, that playing hand in hand with the system here and the dirt that go on here, that's a system that's, let me just say, a system that's obviously and disproportionately benefiting whiteness. They want to act like that's somehow less of a crime. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. And talk to a German right now. Just talk to a German right now and ask them today, do they have anti-black sentiment in their family? They're going to say, yeah, period. The same goes for all these other European groups. Whiteness is the unifying factor by which they operate when they come here. And the spoils of inherent white skin are what they come here jockeying for. Don't let them try to sway you otherwise, is my point. There's a publication I'm trying to pick up soon also called the Atlas of the Transatlantic Slave Trade. And it just basically shows how anything that was bordering the Atlantic Ocean had a role in the damn slave trade. So that's Africa, that's Europe, that's all of that. So don't let people try to sell you that the transatlantic slave trade didn't involve global networks of trade where everybody involved was getting a piece except us. All right. This was a flow globally of people, of goods, of money, and anti-ADOS ideology being transported. All right. This was the largest forced migration in history, and everybody was on the grab to get something out of the shit, and is still enjoying the take that motherfuckers got out of the shit transgenerationally, except us. And we gonna stop that shit. That's what we out to stop. And that's how you bat white people down. We just gonna get to that. When white folk try to slight white immigrant participation in slavery, let them know, look, you motherfuckers wasn't doing so hot in your own damn countries. You know what I mean? Despite this place, despite where the fuck you from and all these other places participating in the ADOS slave trade, your ass wasn't doing good in your own country. Sort of like the Nigerians, sort of like the Ghanaians. I'm going to get to them in a bit. But they couldn't get shit jumping at home, is my point. And when they came here, what do? They play assimilation politics, right? couldn't get shit jumping. They come here, they play assimilation politics, and they playing the role to fit in with society here. They come here lapdogging for the step-ups. And they come from a family of probably white supremacists, lapdogging, step-up want to have motherfuckers. And they want to tell us that they ain't have nothing to do with impressing the legacy of the equities of anti-ADOS slavery remaining in place. Again, we talking economic equities. We talking shit that only benefits whiteness. Economic equity that only benefits whiteness, right? Social equities that only benefit whiteness. Political benefits that only benefit whiteness. Political equity, right? So hell no, there's too much documentation to the contrary that shows that you motherfuckers got everything to do with it. You white immigrants. So that's one of the chief points I want to make. Hold on, let me see who over here in the chat. Key King. All you doing is stretching them out. You know what I'm trying to get done, King K? I'm trying to get one of my chat people named Isis. I'm trying to get her to make me a mask, dog. I'm trying to get a mask, yo. I want this. You know, you seen the mask that the porno stars wear, the little, you know, kind of like it's like a tight fitting mask. I'm gonna want a porno mask, and I'm gonna get it, say PDJF on the top. You know what I'm saying? I want to see if she can make that shit for me. One of the porno masks, yo. Just to let y'all know. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's what I'm trying to do. You know, what's wrong with having a porno mask, man? Come on, man. I thought about doing porno at one point in my life, man, when I was in the street, and I didn't, you know, I was like, man, fuck it, man. You know, I knew some people that actually did porno, and I was like, man, you know, that's some shit I probably would want to do. I ain't got no morals like that where I would be against doing a porno. Like, I wouldn't give a fuck. I'm saying. But yo, let me get back to what we talking about, man. But that's the thing with my mask, bro. You know, somebody come true for me. Somebody come true for your boy and that shit. You know, I'm on tap to change it up, man. Or if they start, I just don't want to take time to order one. I probably should just order one, but I want to go ahead and give some people a chance to show them what they work look like. You know what I mean? So anyway, my point is, we won't let white society or any group separate empire building from ADOS enslavement. That's just not going to happen. No matter how much they dislike it, you white immigrants, y'all racially stood on our back because a racist white supremacist terrorist regime allowed you to in the building of its empire from a brutal colonizing process that saw us on the outs of the shit. All right. So you have to pay. You complied with helping cement institutional disenfranchisement of ADOS and the one-sided building of shit like the justice system and the one-sided building of shit like the prison industrial complex and the one-sided building of shit like the housing markets, the loan markets, the grant markets, the economies of the U.S., goddammit. So you motherfuckers got to pay for the rest of your life. This is what the fuck this shit look like. That's the end of the story. Yes, you all are responsible. This is all in the name of your progenitors. Y'all want everybody to, you know, y'all keep looking back on y'all's history. We gonna look back on our history and tally up. Y'all do the same thing. I'm saying I want everybody to stand for your funkin' ass flag. All right. Well, you got to bribe me. You got to pay for the rest of your life. You want everybody to stand for your fuck ass anthem. Cool. You got to pay for the rest of your stinking ass life. And that's really that. The boy Black Patriarch. I don't know if it's a guy or a woman yet, but I fuck with Black Patriarch. Y'all go support Black Patriarch. Go subscribe to Black Patriarch. You know what I mean? Check it out. They stay putting up heat. Whoever this individual is. But Black Patriarch put up a video of Tucker Carlson in a conversation he was having with a white dude, some white dude. I'll post a link to the video in the description so y'all can get his name. I didn't get his name. And some Coon motherfucker that he had on the show. Some Coon motherfucker about reparations because, believe it or not, that's what they're trying to swat down in certain circles right now in the white supremacist media. Notice they don't say tangibles when this conversation comes up, right? But they hear intangibles. They're just not going to go on TV and say it. Notice that. because tangibles includes reparations, as we say on this channel. Tangibles includes reparations and a whole bunch of set-asides and other shit. And they're basically cowards snowflake and trying to hold on to a little piece of the conversation and just trying to attack that. But which they have no moral basis or societally even, no societal basis to attack at this point, because we on their ass in the new black media. I don't know what you was looking at if you ain't think this was what was happening. But one of the speakers just kept saying, America comes from a legacy of slavery, right? And I don't want y'all to be fooled when people just say America comes from a legacy of slavery, because it minimizes the reach our enslavement, ADOS, had in the structure of the country and in global economies. All right. That's why I'm going to champion saying that we say America was built on a legacy of slave equities, plural. ADOS slave equities. All right, because saying equity, that brings in the specificity the conversation is looking for. You understand me? And I'll talk about pro-black banks, pro-black lobbyism, pro-black politics as a way to establish political equity in us receiving tangibles, right? And I also kind of want to touch a little more on these economic equities that need to be represented in this tangibles argument, because immigrant white groups, all these other groups get set aside, all right? They get economic equity. We got the motherfucking Polish and Slavic Center. They get donations. I'll put a link up to some of these places so y'all can know what I'm talking about. They get donations to improve their situations here in America. ADOS, we can't get a website for donations about reparations without white people jumping on the news, hating on us. You know what I'm saying? And we have more to deal with and more to do with building this fucking country than every white person here, from the Anglo-Saxon to whatever they describe themselves as. You understand? Shit, out here in Texas, we got an organization called the checktexas.org, where people just give money to the different endowment funds that this organization has set up for things related to Czechoslovakian people. You see? You see this shit? And they try to guilt ADOS people for demanding tangibles, for building an entire country. Fuck out of here. I'm gonna post a link to a few of these white immigrant organizations just getting all kind of monetary needs met off request. No hassle. Nobody on the Breakfast Club calling them bots. No non-ADOS boule coons jumping out in front. You know what I'm saying? Like a punk ass Kamala Harris, a fat ass Roland Martin. These white immigrants are just allowed to be, is my point. They're allowed to be while acting like ADOS is not the foundation of everything that they experience in this bitch and their immigrant existence here, right? And that's just how it is for them and for the immigrants who came here from Britain and try to call white people and try to label people immigrants. Those original people that was filling up the colonies, those white people, just like them motherfuckers, right? We are the foundation of what they experience here. Now America's become this fucking bastion for white wealth across the goddamn Atlantic Ocean, and they want us to ignore our role in it just because they don't want to think out what we owe. Like, nah, stop it. We already own that shit. We already own it. Y'all got these organizations popping up where y'all can just ask for money and get it. All right, we see that shit. Bitch, watch what we do. Watch what the fuck we do. I think one of the people in my comments said, yo, what up, still learning? What up, still learning? Good morning to you, Miss Ma'am. I think you were a girl. I don't know. If you're not a girl, my bad. Damn. Somebody in my comments said, yo, we need to get on them Jews. You know, I'm going to say a few things, man. You know, Jews, they're another predominantly white community that immigrants attach to. If you want to go by white supremacy's measurement of Jews, right? They get money for the Holocaust to this motherfucking day. And the Holocaust was a 12-year event. It happened off American soil. It didn't even happen here. And they still getting checks from France. Even as recent as 2019, France is still paying motherfucking Jewish families. They're paying their families, they're paying their descendants, they're paying their estates. All because French trains and shit was carrying Jews to get to the camps. You understand? All because they built some trains that carried the motherfucker somewhere. That's the type of shit they're going through. And it's still the same. Jewish society, they're still getting set aside. They're still getting money from all these German outlets, all these Swiss banks still shelling out money. And, in the 90s, brother Khalid Muhammad, he went on about, the Jewish Holocaust Museum. They get billions a year to operate a museum in the U.S. And, who knows if that's all going to operate a museum. Museums aren't open 7 days a week and shit. Like, some of that money is getting pocketed, is what I think. I guess I could post some links. There's this organization called the International Federation of Christians and Jews. Now, it's called Christians and Jews. It's called the ifcj.org. And this is another organization where basically it gives money to Holocaust survivors into old age. It helps them when they old or whatever. In the Jewish community, they still collecting money, is what I'm saying. GoFundMe style off of the Holocaust, right? They base it off residents and the effects of their persecution and all of this shit. So do I need to go any further? That shit sounds just like some shit we need to be getting our hands in. You understand? As far as talking about how reparations should be structured and put together for ADOS, excuse me. As far as talking about how reparations should be structured for ADOS, we need shit like that. And of course, I think we need a Coon clause that says, if your family in any way has produced any manner of cooning in a certain generational time frame, you're going to get deducted from your reparations. That's going to kind of remove you from reparations. We need to work that out. It needs to be worked out somehow, in my opinion. If your family has produced coons or goddamn interracial relationships, anything like that, to where your reparations will benefit non-blacks, there's got to be a deduction made, damn it. I don't give a damn. You understand? But I'm glad you brought that point up about the Jews, whoever that was. To them, peep the structure of how they do shit. They also got a conference that they have. And, I've heard a lot of black people talk about we like a conference. They have a conference called the Conference of something about money they need to be getting out of Germany. Jewish material claims against Germany or some shit. They still having conferences on what the fuck they should be getting. It's my point. Nobody telling them to stop talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going on Fox News and CNN saying, well, because white Jews make so much money as a white group in America, they don't need to have money set aside for them by all these different means, right? And make no mistake, there's actually black people who identify as Jewish, like sitting up in the synagogue Jewish, and you hear countless stories of the racism towards blacks in the Jewish community. Believe that shit. So, we're talking about the rabbis, call them all sorts of niggers and whatever the fuck else. And coming down on black people, black Jewish people, for them speaking out against shit like racism. You know what I mean? And they black behind ain't getting a dime, in my opinion. I don't think they getting a dime for none of this shit, this money that be coming to these Jew oriented, Holocaust oriented. I don't think they getting a dime. These black people, I don't think so. But it's all kind of stories of black people getting up and leaving the Jewish community because of the overt anti-black culture that it is. Making them feel like outsiders to the white supremacist culture that's inherent within this whitewashed version of Judaism. I mean, we could get into that. There's various washings of Judaism that we won't get into today, but the overarching fact is that these people are also on code to get what they have to at the exclusion of black people, and often bold-faced angst towards the plight of ADOS. And one thing that also tripped me out on this Tucker Carlson interview with this immigrant white dude talking shit, and again, I'll post it in the link and shit so y'all can check shit out in the description so y'all can click on it and just get a good laugh about this shit. But one thing that caught my ear was that he was also saying, well, Nigerians and Indians, they earn more money than the average white person in America. So why should ADOS get reparations? They didn't say ADOS, but they were just saying black people. But we know who they talking about. They talking about us. But they like, oh, why should they get reparations when Nigerians, they're earning and working and earning more than the average white person, right? Making that false equivalence. You see that shit? This is what we talking about when we say they want to use non-ADOS blacks. On my non-ADOS blacks again. They want to use non-ADOS blacks as a dark skin buffer to undermine every little thing we talking about, every little thing we trying to do, right? And you non-ADOS blacks, you don't need to be nodding along in agreement with them. You understand? Nobody is saying white Jews make more money than your average German American walking around this bitch, which makes up the majority of white people in America, Germans, okay? German descent, okay? Nobody's saying Jews make more money than them. Let's stop giving donations to all Jewish causes. You see that shit? They only pull that shit when it's us. The people that they owe the real shit to, the real tangibles to, us. All right? And they keeping these whoever the fuck else, immigrant groups, white immigrant groups, black immigrant groups, Latinos, Indians, whoever the fuck, they keeping these motherfuckers satisfied with pennies. All right? What white supremacist society thinks is if they can keep these, white immigrants, Latinos, Indians, Asians, Chinese, black immigrants, all these other non-ADOS groups pacified and keep them quiet with pennies, that these groups will somehow make enough noise as a collective with white society and be in tune with white society so much that whenever white society instructs them to drown out our claims of what they owe us in reparations in the form of tangibles and all this that we own, they gonna drown us out. But no, and you non-ADOS blacks, y'all don't need to be nodding in agreement with white supremacists after all the shit that they done to us, all the death and carnage that we've endured for you to get your second generation, first generation, third generation, all your statuses that y'all got here. It was us who was the abolitionists. It was us who was fighting against slavery. It was us who was popping off all these slave rebellions, who fought in the Civil War, which immediately after the motherfucking 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment got passed, which said that you could be a citizen upon being born in America, right? So all you first generation, second generation, third generation, ADOS, look, all you non-ADOS immigrant blacks, that's speaking to your benefit right there. So I'm just saying to y'all, you non-ADOS blacks, pay y'all shit forward. If y'all smart, pay y'all shit forward and don't be hating on the side of the war that we in. All right, that's not what y'all should be doing. What they think is that we're not gonna do the dividing of our people amongst those who should pay reparations, you know what I'm saying, who should get reparations and those who shouldn't, right? But we cutting up the whole American pie. We looking at everybody saying who's supposed to get what and who's who and what is what. Fuck what y'all talking about. They made a mistake thinking that. We already got black immigrants. Shit, we already got black immigrants giving us support, saying, yo, I'm with y'all in making this dividing line between us and y'all. Get y'all's, you know what I'm saying? We already, you know what I mean? We already getting that kind of support. And I see the comments of those that be in my comments speaking up in that vein. And we thank y'all those kind of black immigrants for their non-bratness and encouragement. Right? Straight real, right? On my channel, we calling out, like I said, everybody, whites, Latinos, all these other groups, but we gotta press the point to non-ADOS blacks. On to y'all now. We gotta press the point to non-ADOS blacks that we ain't finna be hidden in plain sight throughout this shit. We contributed to all of this wealth in the motherfucking globe that can be quantified. All right, bank ledger after bank ledger after bank ledger, from the US to the Bank of England, to the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, Spanish empires, the Nigerian empires, the Ghanaian empire. And we not gonna act like we ain't put in all that work just to satisfy some non-ADOS motherfuckers out here bratting. For those of you that are bratting, I'm not talking about all of y'all. Those of you that are. Not finna act like we ain't put in all that work just cause some non-ADOS out here bratting on TV and shit and don't want to see daddy ADOS step out the house. Like, keep that shit real, you know what I mean? We got to step out the house and go to work on white supremacy and all the other groups that I mentioned owing us. You know how it is, it's like a little kid, you get like a niece, nephew, or a little kid in your family, sometimes they don't want you to go to work and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of them things. You be like, nah, little motherfucker, get off my leg, little motherfucker. I gotta go to work, keep the heat, keep the lights on type shit, right? That's what non-ADOS, or I should say a population of non-ADOS blacks be doing. A population of them don't want us to go to work on white daddy. And places like Nigeria and Ghanaian society, when we come through with our ledger for them, like, yeah, okay, this is what you owe too. You understand? For this $52 to $54 trillion debt in reparations that all these countries coming together, they can make it show up. You understand? You got all these African countries paying their former colonizers hundreds of millions and billions a year. Billions a year. So y'all can make this type of shit show up. Whoever we pressing, they got the money to make this shit show up. And this shit is on several countries' backs. So don't let people try to sell you that it can't be done, is my point. Fuck all that. It ain't that it can't be done. Ain't nothing to the shit but to bear down and get with the shit. You understand? Is my point. Another thing, man, about our black immigrants, just to keep it all the way funky, you know what I'm saying? The various tribes of Indians, right? They get money, they get land and all this shit, all these set-asides. Even they weren't native to this landmass. We talk about the old mix and all this shit. White society found use for them. This is more of just an educational point to my non-ADOS blacks. White society found use for these Indians, right? Once they found out that they would play ball against black people, against us. Once they found out they would play ball against ADOS, white society came in, bribing them, chipping them off, right? This is a brick wall that non-ADOS blacks are facing. You're going to have to start teaching this into your non-ADOS children that, look, white society is going to come and try to bribe us to try to hate on the black people who built this country, is what I'm saying. This is the teachable moment for your kids. Y'all got to pass this shit down like this. When y'all say y'all support ADOS, pass the shit down like that, right? Is what your boy P be on. Because, what it looked like is non-ADOS come from a long line of immigrants who are willing to be bribed by white society and say, well, shit like we hear all the time, well, as long as we don't make no waves and we can't get no strike, as long as we get this green card and this job, it's fuck the Makadas, right? Let's be good, and white daddy will provide for us, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, man. So this is why we got to keep riding on black immigrants to an extent. I mean, once they get the picture, they get the picture, and they can just stay out the frame as far as your boy P looking at it, right? Because white society is trying to play them like the new motherfucking Indians, in my eyes. If they play ball, they can get access to a little meager bag of set-asides as long as they hold American DOS out of the loop. That's all immigrants get paid to do. White or any immigrant, white, black, whoever the fuck. That's all they get paid to do. If y'all really think about that shit, right? Any group of immigrants, because you see, it's a spite thing with white supremacist society. They'll do anything to avoid saying ADOS is right. They even turn our own skin folk against us. Even turn all the white immigrants against us in our call for reparations and so forth and so on. Because the white immigrant is looking at the residual benefits of whiteness, right? They're looking at the benefits that whiteness gives them as a residual from, and that their family has been entitled to over the years, over us. They looking at that type of shit in all sorts of lanes, in the employment lane, the motherfucking prison industrial complex, motherfucking employment, all that type of shit, right? The justice system, you see what I'm saying? But back to the goddamn Indians, you know what I mean? They not only help enslave us, these 5 civilized tribes, they keep us out of our land and other shit that we supposed to receive and other things that should be allotted to us today. And that's the role that a lot of these non-ADOS spoiled brats are trying to assume. All right. And again, we're talking about a population of y'all, not all of y'all. If some of y'all come over here and say, man, I don't want to take no set asides, I ain't finna take no scholarship that's in the name of no particular immigrant group, nothing. I'm just finna come over here and work out the dirt or whatever. I ain't finna try to get nothing special. I ain't finna try to be nothing special. I'm just finna hold my own nuts, right? If you come like that, it's a different type of respect that's finna rain on you, right? But, you know, that's the role that just in mass, ADOS blacks are noticing is popping up out of non-ADOS black communities, right? And we see that that's a role that a lot of non-ADOS blacks are trying to assume in today's time. They want to be white supremacist society's goddamn immigrants, the new Indians, goddamn it. I'm saying immigrants. They want to be the motherfucking new Indians, right? That keep us from what we deserve from building the equity of most of the goddamn globe for free. Let's just keep that shit real. And I also say this, y'all don't get caught up when you hear people say shit like most slaves were dropped off in South America. Don't get caught up when you hear people say shit like most slaves were dropped off in South America. My answer to that is so the fuck what? To help them contextualize the thought. ADOS, we talking about North America and Canada. If you want to be real, Canada had slavery for 200 years, all right? But I'm going to say this. Let South American blacks form their own ADOS movement. Let them go for theirs through that. Let Central American blacks form their own ADOS movement and go for theirs through that. We ain't trying to stop them. You know what I'm saying? Are they doing it? It don't look like it, but motherfucker, we are. So we ain't waiting around like them, is my point. We know of all the banks all over the world by name who profited from our enslavement here in North America. So let's get the legislation popping. Let's demand that they make their ongoing contributions to our money, since we talking money, and money is a part of the tangibles. Since we on the money part of the tangibles conversation in this video. You know what I'm saying? We know all the insurance companies. These motherfuckers, they didn't mind ongoing enslavement of us, a one-way payout to them. So they shouldn't mind a one-way payback to us. Like I said, we know everybody all over the world by name who profited from us. So, you know, yes, that money is going to come in part from white society here. And so the fuck what? Anybody that got some shit to say, look, don't get mad. We've for years, and I have definitely, I just made the economic case for it, goddammit. So stop the bitching, stop the trying to send out black immigrants and put them on TV, who are the smallest population of black society, and try to put them on MSNBC and shit like this as some exceptional class to try to dole down our dues that are owed. All right, that shit is white supremacy making a run for it, basically. I mean, they're making a run for it when they calling on the immigrants. I do that, but see your ass though. I'm saying we ain't gonna let them get away. Here's my point. We've already psychologically jettisoned our dead weight. Anybody that we can perceive as dead weight, like, the dissenting factions amongst us, the non-ADOS. And matter of fact, I'm going to do a video probably this weekend about the Moors too. I didn't really want to do no videos jumping off nothing with the Moors, man, but I got to do this one video on the population of the Moors that are talking shit about ADOS. I came across some things this week in my research that had me saying, oh, we got to get on these Moors. We got to demand of these Moors what we demanding of the non-ADOS blacks, to go at the ones that are amongst you, that are of your stock, that are talking down on ADOS. Y'all are going to be interested to hear this shit. So tune in tomorrow if you can catch your boy. You know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying? We've already, like I said, jettisoned our own dead weight type shit in this fight. And black immigrants, this is a fight that don't really include your weight class. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't got the weight to be weighed in with us. You understand me? It's my point. When we talking about American DOS set-asides, and on my channel and other channels like Black Patriarch, shit like that, right? We, in fact, mention that societally speaking, there are some groups that are unabashed offenders against our betterment, right? That we can't skirt from. We get on the coons that get on TV, faking like they speakers for the black community, for the American black population, because white society vets them to get into our face and be in our face, right? Motherfuckers that get on TV calling us bots and all this shit that, and saying what we need to do and what we need to be thinking and doing in front of white and mixed company. We've called out all these different boule, all these different types that have perpetrated this shit upon us. This shit is like a dangerous loop-de-loop that non-ADOS blacks, these boule motherfuckers that's tied with non-ADOS shit, this is a dangerous loop-de-loop that they're playing. And my argument will always stand that if ADOS blacks or non-ADOS blacks aren't policing these types of motherfuckers and getting on their soapboxes 24/7 like we are and going against they bullshit, their own, who are doing this type of shit, this dirt, personality for personality in the media. So this is like your Loveys, your Angela Rye. If y'all not doing the exact same shit I be talking about and how we need to be policing these motherfuckers, man. If y'all not on with that shit, y'all are guilty of being participatory in that type of shit, right? You're siding with black immigrants no matter what, just because they're immigrants. I mean, you're not being critical of your own because they're one of you, and putting black immigrants as a tribe above the black population that's brave enough to call out the bullshit, us, that is some shit you're gonna have to deal with. That's what's gonna make anybody with a brain tell you, get off our nuts, hold your own nuts. You understand? So, that's the trick. A lot of motherfuckers tight about us on this ADOS shit. A lot of them tight about it, right? And I get it, man. It's like we the motherfuckers that the whole world done idolized from their respective little islands and countries. They sat back and watched us, right? And marveled at us for years and years and years. Like, them motherfuckers still soldiers. God damn, we thought that they would be dead by now. Them motherfuckers not even fucking dead by now. Damn. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. All these groups sitting back watching us. White people, everybody. You know what I mean? Sitting up watching us. And they're like, these motherfuckers holding their nuts for real. And now they're saying the motherfuckers that we've idolized and looked up to as these superheroes, when we touch down on land, they're telling us, hold your own nuts. I know y'all hurt by that shit. I know it make you mad, right? But ain't nothing you can do about it. You understand? Ain't nothing y'all can do about it. Y'all got to play ball the way we doing it, or you knocking motherfuckers out the park, man. That's all the fuck to be said about it. You know what I mean? It's all the fuck to be said about it. And I hope y'all ready, man. Hope y'all ready for what the fuck come with this ADOS behavior if you're not on our side. I mean, and if you playing games with what the fuck we told y'all motherfuckers y'all need to be on out here, is my point. And you know, that's how it go. We, you know, that's what I was gonna say. That's what the fuck was up. You know, in Fort Worth, Texas, man, we got a saying called "You thought you had a friend," right? And that's what happened with a lot of these immigrant groups. White, I'm talking about everybody, all these immigrants, white, black, otherwise, whoever the fuck, man. It's like they thought they had a friend coming over here. But because we were acquiring things of our friends, I mean, and we don't want our friends fucking playing ball with open puppet masters who want to put them at an advantage to us and leave us out in the cold for another 400 years. Like, no, hell no. That ain't happening. We ain't getting down like that. So know that. Man, let me get to my people, man. I'm through talking to y'all, man. I'm gonna talk to my people. What's up in the chit net? Still learning. Black Patriarch, yeah, tomfoolery, yeah, for surely. Let me just read through here. I'm glancing, trying to see what got added. I'm gonna read through these comments because I know this is like the fun part. This is I like to talk to the people. Still learning. By the way, I found a number for one United that you could call. I might already have that number. Still learning, but I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna run with it. I'll put it in my Rolodex. I'm sending them emails and all this other shit. But you know, once we're gonna get them on. Once we get them on the horn, they on the horn. They on the horn. You understand? Black Patriarch put out a good video yesterday about the black immigrant tomfoolery that's going on. I think I might have watched it, or I think we might have talked about it in this video. I think so. I tried to leave a comment on it, but it wasn't allowing comments. So I don't know if he or she. I still know Black Patriarch is a he or she. Did not allow for me to put no comments. So like, all right. Was that the one? Still learning? Were you able to leave comments on that shit when you watched it? If you're still there, still learning, shy. Black first, always and forever. Let's talk about how immigrants treat blacks in their own country, especially Latinos. Well, damn, you know, what's the way to say that shit? We could talk about Haiti. We could talk about that whole dividing line with Haiti and the DR. Man, that shit is nasty. They treat black Haitians like dirt balls. You know what I'm saying? If we're talking about a proximity that black immigrants here have to a Latino group, that's what you're talking about? That's what it sounds like. Okay, you could leave a comment, but I couldn't view any comments. It was weird. Okay, so I don't know. What the fuck ever. Okay, we'll I'll still leave the link. Y'all check it out, and we'll see if we can all get on it. We might all be able to get on at later times, or, you know, you can enable or unenable comments on this shit. So we'll see what happens, y'all. Thank you, Still Learning, for checking up on that, though. Appreciate you. Thank you for your work. Black first, always and forever. That goddamn Jew is more dangerous than Billy. Ha ha. Funny. Who else, man? Truth Guy. Good morning, bro. Birmingham, Alabama in the house. What the fuck is up, Alabama, Birmingham in the motherfucking house? The fuck going on this goddamn morning with you niggas in this bitch? Hollering at y'all, man. What up with y'all, man? Good morning, P and chat. King K. Just told the African the same thing. I'm new to your channel. Fam, salute, keep the info coming, man. What the fuck, man? What the fuck I'm gonna do, man, if I don't do this shit, man? I tell my people all the time, if I don't do this shit and if I don't have my mind occupied with certain other shit, the unsung hero was Russia. Yep, that same unit gave our Harlem fighters hell while in training. You talking about what are you talking about? The 69th unit, some shit. that I brought up earlier? Well, Co-Rep, what were we talking about when you said that same unit gave our Harlem fighters hell while in training? What were you talking about, Co-Rep, if you're still in the chat? Post something, Co-Rep. If you bad, post something, Co-Rep. I'm just playing. I ain't charging you up and shit. 50 Cent ski mask. Wait, you know, man, my people will be proud, man. My people that know me, when they see this, they know me. You know what I mean? They know us. Sin. All right, yeah, so that's work. Glad y'all tuned in to me this morning. I have to talk. Okay, hold up. It's a pleasure to help. I have to talk to One United anyway, so I'll see if I can get it back. Yeah, if you do that still on, I'd appreciate it. You already know I'm itching to jump on a few of these interviews and pick at their dome top for a lot of these banks and have that line running while I'm doing my other types of videos and just keep that cognizance up and really just get into the mind of the black banks in the community, because, you know, we had the Freedmen's bank issue, that type of shit where, you know, banks just got their money snatched by white society. I want to see how the reins are at these black banks. You know what I mean? They talking all this bank black. I want to see how the reins is. Do they really run shit? Because like I said, we can still do what I'm talking about as far as establishing a political presence in terms of they bribe, we bribe type shit, right? I'm always about that dig a hole and put money in it and then have the motherfuckers that you finna get the money to watch the money being thrown in the motherfucking hole. You know what I'm saying? So they'll know, yo, that's for you, man. And nobody gonna touch that shit. That's all you, doggy. Yeah. But yeah, good looking out, still learning, and do what you must, still learning, pull off what you can, and you know, just get back at me in the comments, or y'all got my email. Send me email. We'll correspond by email, and just let me know what you can uncover while you do your work with it. I thank you for putting the feet on the ground for you, boy. I appreciate that. Thank you. You don't know me. I'm a stranger. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate the work. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to make sure to bring it to the people once it's ready. Man. But yeah, I had to switch the hoodies today. I got the camouflage. It's camo. Y'all can't see it's bright, but it's that camo. You know what I'm saying? The civilian camo. It's actually not. Civilian camo is the black, but it's gray. I just did it just to fuck y'all up a little bit. But yeah. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And man, don't forget to fuck with that Teespring. Got some shit coming, man, that it's nasty. You know what I'm saying? I got some shit coming that's nasty on Teespring, man. But I'm debating on whether or not I need to just give it its own website and all that other shit. Is where I'm at right now. Shit nasty. You understand me? And when I drop it, I'll be like, God damn, that boy P said that shit was gonna be nasty in the motherfucker. That shit shut down a whole bunch of shit. You know what I mean? So know that. Know that. But yeah, get it, y'all.